Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Faith Fitness and Fastballs. I have my man Nick Plummer here with us today. How you doing today, man?
Doing good, Vince, man. Always good to get back with you, man.
Absolutely, man. I can't. Hey, man, it's good to see you, man. You were one of you. I talk about some of the guys that I've played with in the past, but you were one of the most humble guys that I was able to play with. So, definitely
I
able to,
appreciate that.
definitely, yeah, for sure, man. Definitely glad to have you on the podcast and talk about some of your experiences that you went through minor league, through pro ball and high school and everything. So, but let's get into it, man. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're from and some of your high school days.
Yeah, so I was born in Bloomfield, Michigan, Birmingham, Michigan area, so up north. Um, yeah, man. Went to Royal Oak Shrine High School. Went K through 12. Went to Catholic high school,
Okay.
Catholic schools growing up. Started playing all four sports: baseball, football, soccer, all of that, basketball, and then ended up probably my seventh, eighth grade year started to focus a little bit more on baseball and football
Okay.
growing up, and yeah, then got into high school, played freshman and sophomore football, played baseball obviously, and then ended up just kind of tapering it down to just doing baseball for my last 2 years. But yeah, man, got a brother, got was raised by a single mom, and pretty much. Enjoyed every step. Didn't have had great opportunities growing up, and kind of just made the most of my opportunities, honestly. And
For
but
sure.
no, man, had a great support system coming up, and really had a really good, strong faith foundation with my grandparents being very in tune with their faith, mom being in tune with their faith. So, when it came down to me going K through 12, it kind of in Catholic school, it's kind of wasn't a choice. It's
Right.
and looking back at in hindsight at my playing career, and thus far I'm 27 now, and it's crazy how you can see how those those decisions of upbringing, especially now you got a little one, how you start to recycle how wow, like your upbringing really has such an effect on how you handle certain situations
Absolutely.
and things you put yourself in and just your overall mindset. So
Absolutely, absolutely, man. No,
yeah,
I completely agree. I mean that like you said, man. It's funny how a lot of this stuff recycles. You grow up and you learn certain values and certain things that got you to the man you are today. And now we're trying to teach other people that, whether it's kids on a team or our own kids or whoever. So it's the cycle. It's the circle of life. I like to say, man. So
hmm
so let's go into you had some pretty good success in high school. You were able to go in the first round in the 2015 draft.
yeah, 2015,
Okay.
yeah.
So walk me through what that's like. What was your thought process going through your senior year? Like, did you know you were gonna get drafted that high, or like what did that look like for you?
So going into it, my senior year kind of had a pretty good. I mean, I'll just kind of go probably from when, probably trace back to like earlier, like probably when I was like about 12 or 13.
Hmm.
That's kind of when it started. I mean, every kid growing up, you start playing baseball, you have the dreams of, hitting that home run or,
Right.
playing in the World Series, right? I've always wanted to, play in the big leagues, get to the big leagues and be a big league baseball player and play pro ball. And I just think that everybody has that dream, right? And for me, I
Right.
think something looking back in my playing career that's so pure about it and so organic about it was that my process, and I give all the credit to my mom growing up is she
Hmm.
never pushed me into doing any of these things. It pushed me into, hey, you like go into baseball. She just put me in these things. She put me in, YMCA basketball. She put me in, soccer. Like she put me in everything and just kind of like let me go.
Yeah.
And I think from I always took every sport I played and everything that I do, really seriously.
Yep.
And when I decided to kind of focus on and got into that, seventh, eighth grade and focus on baseball and football and started to taper itself off, I really started to see myself separate myself from my age group
Okay.
growing up, and it was cool, man, because it really like going into my eighth grade year, going in as a freshman at Birmingham Brother Rice, a pretty good school if sport wise. It was my goal as a freshman to make varsity. That was my baseball goal as a freshman. I want to make varsity. I want to make and contribute and help play. And ended up making varsity, and I think it's something that, as as I know for you, being a new father, for me, gonna having kids on the way in the near future, whenever that is. It's something that I think, looking back at how my mom raised me and how things she instilled in me, like, you just gotta take it one step at a time, and you can always have that dream. You have to have that dream
Absolutely.
of, you know, the big leagues, playing Division 1, Division 2, whatever it might
Yep.
be. But you also have to have these steps of, okay, hey, I want to play freshman. I want to play JV.
Yep.
I want to play varsity. You have to have these steps, these goals to try to accomplish and get there, and then you kind of run with it. But so that's pretty much where it started for me. It was I'll never that was probably one of the coolest things. And I look back at my career, was my freshman year. I look back at that team that we had at Birmingham Brother Rice, and we had, like, we could have beat a lot of Division 1 schools.
Really.
When I was a freshman, yeah, like I think at that time we've probably had, I mean, that team, we probably had more than half the guys went Division 1.
Wow.
Yeah, no,
Wow.
it's a good school in the like in the Catholic League
Hmm.
in Detroit. But DJ LeMahieu graduated from there. I forget what
Oh,
grad year
okay.
he was. Yeah, we've had some really good guys come out of there. So that was like my thing, man, is making
Yeah.
varsity, and it just kind of sprouted into to my sophomore year, going to perfect, or not perfect game, PBR, which is another showcase. I only did one showcase growing up,
Oh, so let's
and
pause there. Let's pause there. So you
yeah,
only did one showcase growing up.
did one showcase, dude.
So and
I
you know
did
what's
one.
crazy? I um
Yeah.
I try and tell guys this. I'm like, if you're good enough, they're gonna find you. Now, mind you, like, you do have to get some exposure, but
Hmm.
if you're good enough, they're gonna find you. Whether go junior college, and then like, you go to local junior college, and then the top Division 1 sees you, you go there, then you get drafted, or you go out of high school. Like, everybody's path is different. My,
Right.
my brother, he's in the Mariners org right now, and we both went to college, but I went to SEC right out of high school, and he went to
Hmm.
college and then to high level baseball, and both our paths were a little bit different, but he still got drafted in a pretty decent round and doing his thing now. So it's just, you can't look at other people around you. You have to more so focus on yourself and, hey, how can I what route do I need to take to get to my goal?
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's just it, man. So just like you said it, you have to be where your feet are, and you have
Yeah.
to ultimately, as individuals, whether you're playing baseball, whether it's in your faith life, whether it's in the classroom, at your job, as a parent, you just
Hmm.
have to be your best self. And at the end of the day, you can look back and be like, hey, like, I did everything I could
Yeah.
towards this section of my life, towards that section of my life. But I think that's so key is, and I'll never stress enough. I tell my mom this all the time, because how parents are. She's like, oh, I could have done so much better with you. I'm like, Mom, dude, you did the best that you could with me,
Yep.
and you kept she kept that progression so organic, to the point to where, so like I said, I did this one PBR showcase, and I always knew that I was a good player.
Right.
But when you look at, and this was, mind you too, right? This is like 20, at this point I was a freshman. I was 2011. So
Okay.
really, like, the showcase circuit and national stuff was like word of mouth. Like, you'd hear from
Yeah.
one dude from, like, you'd hear from one dude of, this guy from Georgia throws 90 as a
Yep.
13-year-old, like, it's just all
Yeah.
word of mouth stuff. And so yeah, so then I go do this perfect PBR showcase, and did really well, and I got a full ride to go there to the University of Michigan. It was hosted at Michigan
Okay. So that's
at
committed to.
So
Wow.
I got yeah, so it was Michigan hosted it there, and obviously I'm 45 minutes away from the campus and from Ann Arbor. So and then at that point too, and I think what's cool too, for especially for the younger guys kind of going through this stage, is you can really see how my mindset changed, because it changed to where I wanted to go to U of M, and I wanted to get the Block M, dude. It carries so much weight
Oh,
from
man.
I mean, It carries so much
Across the
weight
country, man. It's
across the country,
here,
across
I'm
the
in Atlanta,
world,
and actually,
man.
I got diehard Michigan fans too.
Crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Right, right. And so, at that point, it's like, hey, like, it's a really good school baseball wise, but it's
Yep.
also a really good school, to graduate from and to get your degree from.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, so then that summer I committed to Michigan and kind of locked that down after, like I said, making my varsity team as a freshman, and then ended up playing through sophomore year. And let's see, and then that junior summer, that's when there was more stuff started to come out from a
Yeah.
pros perspective. We
Okay.
started doing, I don't know if you there's the area code games.
Yep. Yeah.
So
East Coast Pro area codes. Yep.
East Coast Pro area code game. So I tried out for the East Coast Pro,
Okay.
and I made that I
Okay.
made that East Coast Pro, and then I tried out for the area code, and yeah, I tried out for the area code as well, and then I had made that. But my big one that I had made was the East Coast Pro, and
Yep.
you just want to get into one or two of those ideally,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so ended up performing well, and there was a little bit of buzz, but nothing stupid, dude.
And,
Again, I'm a I'm a kid from Michigan,
yeah.
you know. I'm a dude from Michigan. Like I'm playing, I was playing whatever, playing football and baseball, and like nobody around the state at this point, around the state, people had known who I was. I was whatever.
Yeah.
They had their rankings back then. I was a top ranked outfielder, all this thing. But I'm still, you're from Michigan, dude.
Yeah.
Like you know what I'm
You gotta
saying?
prove yourself a little bit more.
You got to, man. So yeah, so I ended up whatever doing and didn't really do again. I did that PBR. I did
Mm-hmm.
that PBR showcase, and then I did the East Coast Pro tried out to compete in the East Coast Pro,
Yep.
and then the Area Code games to compete in that. And that was that later that summer. And I made both of those. And that was really it
and
at
and,
this point.
and not cut you off, but area code and East
Yeah.
Coast Pro. I tell guys like if that was the first East Coast Pro. I did both too, but
Hmm.
I did East Coast Pro first, and that was the first time where I mean that every game we played was just like wow, like the competition is crazy. Like you see
Yeah.
these names, you see the people. I mean, on my team we had like Byron Buxton, Dansby Swanson, Matt
Yeah, dude.
Olson. We had, I mean, I don't know how many guys that we had on that team that made it to the big leagues, but Dwayne Underwood, we had so many guys on that team that made it to the big leagues. You're just like, this is crazy. And then you like face like Team Florida when they have like Carlos Correa and Edwin
Hmm.
Diaz and Lance McCullers. You're just like, it's the talent. It is crazy. And then going to area codes, we face like Lucas Giolito and Max Fried. You're just like this. Like that was the first time for me where I'm like, okay, I got to see a grand. Like, I always play travel ball, but I got to see how big how big the U.S. was when it came to like high level competitive baseball. Because I
Hmm.
mean, I held my own, but like these dudes right here were like this was something different.
Yeah, no, that's just it, man. As you do, you're. That's what's cool about it too. Is you're paired off in these regions,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, hey, like you guys have fun. You guys go. I remember the Georgia team is always loaded. They
Yeah.
had Daz Cameron. They had
Yep.
Kyle Tucker was playing with those like it
Yeah.
was the best of the best. And what's cool about it too, and it's not a one game. Let's see who does
Yep.
it. Post your highlights. You're there for what is it, 3 or 4 games?
Yeah. We were. Yeah. I think we played
Maybe
4
more.
games. Yeah, 4 or 5 games, and like we were there for like
Yeah,
because you had like your workouts and like stuff like that.
right. Maybe more. Yeah. So I think we were there for maybe a little bit less than a week, maybe six
Mhm.
days, because you have your one day where you work out. Everybody kind of gets accustomed to travel and everything,
Yep.
and so when I had gone down there, I was I had a bad hammy. I came down. I was playing the week before. I tweaked my hammy. Like, and you know how those hammies are. They just they
Yeah.
drag on. So I didn't run my 60. I didn't do nothing. I didn't
Okay.
really do anything on the. I did everything. I said, hey, I'll be good to play, whatever. So
Yeah.
we get to go playing in the East Coast Pro, and at this point, whatever, I'm still committed to Michigan and just kind of seeing what's out there.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was I to this day I don't know if I've I've seen a baseball or hit a baseball that consistent. I
Mm,
mean, obviously I've had games, I mean, in my pro career, but
yeah.
from that point in time,
But you
I
went
mean, it
off.
was
You went
just
off there.
I went off. I
Yeah.
went off. Like they one of the scouts was talking to my mom and my stepdad, and he was like, I've seen this, and this I think was the second or third day. He's like, I've been to this event, whatever, for as long as they posted it. I've never seen as loud, consistent contact as
Wow.
Nick's showing us this weekend. And my agents, filling my parents in on the back end. He's like,
Yeah.
hey, like, you're starting to get some buzz. And at this point, there's no round, there's no side, there's no
Yep.
nothing for me. I'm just a kid committed to Michigan, whatever. Like,
Yep.
hey, and yeah, so I finished out there, and um, then piggybacked off of that. Had a really good East Coast Pro again,
Mm,
and didn't lose momentum. And then I went over to area code games the next week, and I let off the whole at bat with a homer.
mm.
And that was the first game. If
Yep.
you played in the area code games, it's that tight. Did you guys do it at Blair Field too?
Was that Long Beach Stadium?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
man.
And
You went out
everybody,
there, man. You got it.
that's what everybody. That was the notion is, hey, keep it
Yeah.
low, keep it low. And I was like, all right, whatever.
And
Like,
you, and you
and
take and
so
you hit a
what?
bomb, obviously.
First one, first at bat. I forget what region we were playing, whatever. But so I get one out, and then at that point, my agent was calling my parents. He's like, "Hey, dude, I don't think Nick needs to do anymore." And the mindset from that point, like they're telling me this, and I'd always had this belief, and but it was, man. I'll go back to it. It's just so that progression was just so organic, and I appreciated that so much.
Yeah.
For myself and just from the out people who I put myself around, who were around me, because it wasn't, I never had this big label of, hey, like, go to the pros, go big league, and all
Yeah.
it progressed itself. So yeah, that was that. And then at that point, it's like, hey, Nick, we think Nick's a day one guy. So I
Mm.
went from over the span of, 2 weeks being a kid from Michigan to like, hey, like you're gonna go on the first day. Like
And it
not
happens
like
that quick too. It can happen.
it happens that quick, man.
That's
It
that.
happens that quick. And
That's
that's what, it's if you were to tell me it would happen that quick, it doesn't happen that quick because it's the
hmm
work that goes into it.
for
But the
sure.
recognition, especially when you're coming from, wherever you're coming from,
Yeah.
that's what happens quick. Is people go, oh, but the work that goes into it,
For
that's
sure. The
uncanny.
notoriety
That's
quick. Like
mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm,
worked your tail off for several years, and you finally once you get the opportunity, and then you hadn't really been in the summer circuit that much, but once you got your
right,
opportunity at area codes and East Coast Pro, you went off, and I mean, and that's what I mean. I don't know, let's just say you get between both of them maybe 15 at bats. I mean, like you have
right,
15 at bats against high level competition to show what you got, and if you do bad, it's like okay, like it is what it is. But if you go off, it's like kind of what you say. You're like, okay, now we can get some
mm-hmm,
notoriety because you're facing minor league, big league guys. At that age, it's like okay, like where do
right,
you see him in the future? So, but yeah, it seems like you had really good success with East Coast Pro area code doing your thing. Now you went from the guy committed to UM that lives in Michigan to potentially being a day one guy. Let's fast forward. Let's fast forward to the draft. Um,
mm-hmm.
what is that? What does that day look like for you? Like, when you get up. What is that? What does day one look like for you?
Um, Yeah, it was just the draft was just kind of nerve wracking in a
Yeah.
whole. So, my senior year was probably out of my four years was probably my worst year because I didn't really get pitched to all that much,
Okay.
So I was like taking my walks, like, if I could poke a bat at it, I'd poke it at. So
Yeah.
my senior year, but whatever, it kind of was what it was.
Yeah. You
And
understood.
by the time and the scouts did too, like I was doing pre-draft workouts and in-home visits with pretty much all the teams at that point. And but yeah, so the draft, man, it wasn't as nerve wracking as it was just kind of anxiousness to kind of see
Yeah.
where we were gonna go. Um, and my agent Sam Samardzija, he had some fun with it, man. He didn't keep me in the loop at all. He was going back doing his things.
Yeah.
He knew that we were in a good spot, and he told me, hey, like I think we're in here at 40. which would have been a little bit outside of the first round. And
Yeah.
then we're just watching it, and I hear my name called, and everybody. I just had my family around, my close family, my best friend, and my
Nice.
now wife. So yeah, man. And then whatever, I get
What
picked
pick
up
were
by the Cardinals. I was 23rd to St. Louis.
you? Okay.
Yep. And that was 2015, and yeah, man, it was kind of, you have that dead period after the draft,
Yeah.
and then we went right down, and I went and played rookie ball there.
Yep.
But yeah, man, it was cool being 18 years old,
Yeah.
and
That's a dream.
I
That's everybody's dream to
yeah.
get a name called, regardless if it's in the first round or the 20th round. It's the dream to hear your name called and realize that
Hmm.
you have the opportunity to play at the next level. I like
Yeah.
I think everybody could agree on that. And then for you, as a high school, and this is where people who are outside the game don't necessarily understand things. So for you, you're 18 years old.
Hmm.
Hey, Nick, we got you signed. Hey, you're going to rookie ball. You're like,
Hmm.
all right, cool, let's get it. What I want you to walk us through like what rookie ball is like.
So yeah, so I go down to West Palm Beach. I just signed, and two labeled. Like, I mean, you have your top guys. You always are, everybody, in the clubhouse knows who your number one, number two, and number three picks are,
Right.
that year. So you kind of always kind of have that label on you and
For sure.
see kind of, you're definitely under a different lens, right? But
Absolutely.
whatever. So I get there, and I was, I think, one of five or six English speaking guys, and
Yep.
it was I loved it, man. I love the guy, love the Latino heritage,
Hmm.
and all the traditions and stuff that they do. But yeah, man, as far as the stuff on the field goes, I'm seeing stuff that I hadn't seen, because the showcase circuit too, man. The showcase circuit too. Pitchers are trying to show their stuff.
Yep.
And obviously I had a good showcase circuit, but I'm not really getting pitched to.
Yeah.
I think they're starting to do that a little bit more now, but like for the most part, like you're gonna see dude's best fastball, but there's no
Yep.
scouting reports. There's no, so yeah, man. So that year in rookie ball, I'm seeing guys who are 4, 5, 6 years older than me. If you're coming out of a 3 year, and yeah, man, it just didn't go my way. I ended up at the end of the year, I like my wrist, I couldn't even
Hmm.
swing it back, because we're doing you didn't play rookie ball, right? You didn't play, you
I
played
did.
you
I
played in
didn't
state
start off.
college.
I did. Yeah, but I didn't play rookie ball. Yeah, I was in state college. Yeah.
You were in state college, right? So that Florida Complex League, well, that's what they call it now. We would practice at 9 o'clock in the morning,
Hmm.
and then we would go from 9 to 12, take an hour off, and then we'd play our 9 inning game
Yep.
every day. At that point, it was every day. Now they play like every 3 days.
Yeah.
But at that point in 2015, we were playing 6 days a week with Sunday off. Yeah, 6 days a week with Sunday off. So Vince, we're doing 3 hours in the morning. Long story short, I went into camp at like 195, 200. I
Yeah.
left at 180. I left at 180 after 50 games.
Woof.
And and this is being a guy, a person who could like keep muscle on, like build muscle, keep
Right.
muscle
Right.
on, and it like roasted me. And then
Yeah.
whatever, the last month of it, I'd come by, and my wrist had come up, and I had some pinching in my wrist,
Hmm.
and they're like, all right, like whatever. Ended up taping it up and just finishing playing out, because just to get the experience. It wasn't as bad as it wasn't anything I couldn't play through, and it was something that I kind of dealt with a little bit here and there. But
Yeah.
but yeah, so then yeah, so rookie ball goes down, and it finished in like 230 or something like that, and but overall, I mean, you're playing 50 games, and
Right.
it was a good experience, man. It was a good experience. I just locked down where I was going to be at for the next, whatever, half decade of my life, and kind
Yep.
of figure out from there. So then that off season, we kind of go into it, and I get to spring training, had a good off season, made some adjustments, tried to make some adjustments going into it, and first, first game of spring training that we're playing inter squad, I go and I break my hamate.
Mm.
First swing live. So here we go, to build up, the whatever 5.5, 6 month build up,
Yep.
and I go and I break my hamate,
I
and
broke my hand in my junior year of college, so I know what that's like.
yeah. No, and I'm like, I picked my bat up. I did it on a I did on a foul ball, and I
Yep.
go to pick my bat up, and I'm like, yo, like I ain't doing anything with this. And
Yep.
it's not like we're playing, it's not like we're playing a live game. And I just signed. I'm like, yo, I'm done. And then
Yeah.
trainers come over and look at it, and at that point they already know. They squeeze my hand. I
Yep.
was done. So I get my handmade taken out, get the handmade bone taken out,
Yep.
and that's an easy surgery. It's a
Hmm.
really common one.
Yep.
But yeah, and then I go back to progress, and hey, that wrist that was bothering me in rookie ball, it's back.
Yep.
And long story short, I was playing with torn cartilage in my wrist.
Hmm.
So just that inflammation, because the surgeon that took out my hamate bone was like, hey, like you'd broken your hamate bone off probably five or six different times, and it just kept
Wow.
reattaching itself. Yeah, because it was all calcified up in there. But
Wow.
yeah, so then it's like, hey, now you have wrist surgery. So at this point, it's 2016. Like my season's done because
Yep.
that cartilage. When you're dealing with cartilage, I would have much rather had to take another bone out than dealing with cartilage. They call it
Yep.
your TFCC is like they call it like your meniscus, your ACL, of your
Yeah.
wrist. So it's basically stability. It's all rotation. It's all ulnar pronation. So I had none of that. So yeah, so I go under the knife again, and I'm done for 2016. And mind you,
Yep.
whatever, I'm picked up 2015 first round pick, and it's like, hey, didn't have a good rookie ball season. Really didn't show all that much, in my first year, and I come back and 2017 after rebounding it, and luckily I had a great surgeon in St. Louis, and the wrist felt good, and yeah, and then I get out to Peoria, and this is when I played with you. Was
Yep.
it
This is when me and you met in 2017. Yep.
2017? Yep. 2017, my first year in
Yeah.
Peoria,
Yep.
my first year in Peoria, man, and we had a great team,
Yeah.
but the same thing, man. It's that first month and a half in Peoria, it's you're playing through some pretty frigid temperatures, right?
Let's
And
pause
my
there.
wrist
Let's
my
pause
wrist
there.
was biting, yeah.
Yeah. That like so that first month in Peoria was
Yeah.
tough because
Yes.
it's really cold. They tell you it's gonna be cold, but it's really cold. And I remember that day. I don't know if you remember this, but it's when we had a night game in Wisconsin, and it was like 32 degrees, but it felt like it was like 23. And I think
Hmm.
I think it's a Coach Swag was our coach or something like that. And I
Yep.
remember like me and Danny talking to him. He was like, "We got to play this game. Like we're not coming back here for like several months." And we're like, "Oh boy!" And like
Hmm.
that was one of those like times where I had to check. I'm like, "Okay, like this is tough." Like and it
Yeah.
stayed cold for like a month and a half everywhere we went.
Yeah, no, it didn't get, yeah, like you said, it was probably like a month and a half to 2 months that we really weren't, breaking 50,
Yeah, at
no
all.
matter what time it was. And yeah, man, so, I'd come off and felt pretty okay in spring training, and then I get out to Peoria and same shit. I got off to a different pretty good start, and
Yeah.
then just, same thing, man. Ended up finishing that year struggling, hitting 200, and the more concerning thing was the strikeouts were way up.
Hmm.
And yeah, and then it was kind of like back to the drawing board at there.
So
But luckily, I
how are you feeling mentally now? You've had your first year where you're in a GCL, did
mhm,
the best. 2016, you were hurt the whole year from the hand
yeah.
and then the wrist injury, and now coming off of 2017. Mentally, like how are you feeling? Like you went from being a first rounder to having these 3 years of not what you expected. How are you feeling mentally after that?
I was still strong. I knew
Hmm.
that, with where I was at age wise, I was still in a good spot,
Yep.
coming out of high school. And that was for me, that was something that, I always wanted to get out and play. And that's
Yep.
why when I knew that I had a really good chance of going professional out of high school, I told everybody when we came in and did our in-home visits, I was like, hey, I'm signing out of high school. Whoever picks me up first, like I'm gonna sign,
Yep.
and then, that kind of helped teams deciding if they're gonna take a chance on me or not. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I was in it, man. I was in it for the development stages. I wanted to do baseball 24/7.
Yep.
and really dive into it full throttle. But at that point, man, I still felt good, but it's like, man, like I'd never gone through this much adversity
Yep.
in any like I mean, and
Most don't.
especially too.
Most don't go through
Yeah,
that.
man.
That's a different type of adversity, man. I mean, because here's the thing: like in high school, you play maybe what 2 games a week. If you have 2 bad games, you're 0 for 4. In college, we play 3 to 4 games a week. Have a bad week, maybe you're like 1 for like 15.
Right.
In pro ball, you have a bad week, you're like 2 for 30, and
Yeah,
it's
man.
like, okay, like what's going on here? Like this don't make no sense.
I remember there was a point to where I think it was like we had like a month or two left, and
Yeah,
I feel good. Like it, like like it's when you're going through it, man. Like especially like you said, you're playing that many games. Your mindset has to be strong and has to
yeah,
be you have to think long term, right? Like you
yep,
have to think like, hey, like the results, you can't be result based in
for
baseball.
sure.
You got to have there has to be a mix between process and results. You got to
Yep.
have to trust in your process to be able to get the results that, you're out there looking for and that you want. And when there was a point to where, man, I'd get in the bus and the last 2 months of the season, whatever, and I had at this point probably 250, 275 at bats.
Yeah.
I'd feel really good. I'd bust off a 2 for 4, and I'm up like 2 or 3 points.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, all right, this ain't it,
Yeah.
whatever. Like it stuck. So you really that like right there, like that really like it puts you in a different mindset. You really got to think different. And yeah, man, I at that point I was still looking. I mean, what else am I gonna do? I love it.
Yeah.
I love the game. I
That's what
love
you
the
signed up
game,
for.
and it's what you signed up for, man. I signed up for it. That's exactly right. I signed up for it, and yeah, just kind of same thing, man. So kind of went back to the drawing board a little bit again, and I don't want to get all into it, but
Hmm.
it's for me, it was at that point, it was like, okay, like we know what we've seen. At this point, I've had, 500, 600 at bats.
Yep.
I was a big guy coming up and still am. And coming up with, as far as getting ready for spring training, is I always wanted to see hard. Like my work ethic was, probably what allowed me to keep going
Yep.
and, just that kind of mental fortitude. But so that off season, I really implemented a lot more off speed, random stuff. Like I was seeing, there's that black box pitching machine. So it
Yep.
was like I was, I invested in that. I bought one of those for myself, and
Okay.
I was seeing live stuff, and it worked relatively well. And then I come back after that season, another down season, and
Mm.
then they get through spring training. Hey, Nick, 2018, you're going to go back to Peoria. We want you to get your feet back in there. It's a similar, you know the league, go there, do your thing, and play it. And at that point, let's see, 2018, 20, 22.
Hmm.
Yeah, 22 turned 23 that year. So like still a couple years below league average as far
Right.
as age wise, but still in a good spot. But man, I'm going back to Peoria. I know what I'm getting into.
Yeah.
You're you're in Palm Beach at this point,
Yeah.
right? You're in Palm Beach, and all my buddies that are with are either in Double A in Palm Beach that I played with last year, and here I'm back in Peoria,
Yep.
and I got to go through this first
Go through
month
it
of the
again.
season again. Yeah, and not going to be a dead horse. It just same kind of same outcome, man. Like
Yeah.
literally 195 year, you know. But what I will say, looking back at it and looking back at my career, what allowed me to progress, and we'll talk about it a little bit, but what allowed me to progress was my mindset through that. I wasn't getting I wasn't getting beat down and getting kicked down and
Hmm.
not taking any notes while I was down. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Is I was making sure that I was crossing my T's, dotting my I's. Hey, I've seen this guy's stuff before. I've seen that guy type of stuff before. I was
Yep.
taking notes about in-game stuff, out-of-game stuff. I was doing the things, everything necessary outside of, I was doing my stuff for my body, stuff for my mind, stuff
Yep.
with my faith. I was doing everything outside of it, and I just wasn't getting the results.
Yeah.
So same thing, man. Like 2018, I spent that whole season again in Peoria.
Yep.
get damn near the same results, 5 points
Yep.
off. Like, well, I think I finished 195 that year.
Yep.
And that's what? That's 2019, or no, that's 2018. And then
2018.
2019, get that promotion. At this point, I'm 23 years old,
Mm-hmm.
right? Still, now I'm like the far distant 2015th. I'm the 4-year, 5-year first round pick, right?
Yep.
And I get the promotion to Palm Beach, which
Yep.
myself, I knew I didn't deserve it, but they were gonna throw me out there and let me go do my
You
thing,
got,
right?
they had to progress you as time
They
went.
got to they got to progress you, right? They got to progress you, and you know as well as anybody that you almost want to stay in Peoria, dude.
Let's pause
you
there.
almost,
So once again, like people don't understand. There's two things with the Florida State League. One, if you can hit there, you can hit anywhere.
anywhere in the world.
Two, most people, and mine did. I felt my grave is there. Most people's career go to die in the Florida State League.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, well, why would you say it's Florida? It's Florida. I'm like, you got to think, yeah, it's Florida.
It's
So one,
Florida.
the ball does not travel, but two, it's Florida. If you had a top pitching prospect and you didn't want them to go to the cold, where are you going to send them
Yep.
to? You're sending them to the Florida State League. So now you're facing some crazy arms that are
Yeah.
also older too. This ain't the GCL where you're facing that 17, 18-year-old from Venezuela who threw 98 and didn't know where it was going. These guys like are top prospects who are 20, 21, and they're lefties, they're mid 90s that can put it where they want to sort of say.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Like that. At that point, Florida State League was high A, where now it's low A. So they flip
Yeah,
flopped it, which they should have done off the rip.
for real
Because
though.
you go whatever, you switch locker rooms. If you go up from rookie ball from the Florida Complex League, Arizona Complex League, to to low A, that's what they
Yep.
should have done off rip. But
Yeah.
now it's like, okay, you get sent out the full season. You're in for us for with St. Louis as Peoria. You're going to Midwest League, and then you're going back down to Florida.
Yeah.
But like you said, man, like those guys, you go ahead and you get drafted. You're seeing a lot of really good arms. You're seeing a lot of a lot of their best, especially on the bump, because you don't. These teams, everybody wants to. It's you as soon as you get a guy, whether he's a free agent sign or a higher pick. Like you want these guys. You want these guys to succeed, right?
Yep.
You want them to do their thing, and you want to see, okay, where can I play my cards? How can I play my cards? And they're gonna set you up to succeed for the most part, right?
Yep.
And yeah, so we saw some of the best arms that league in the year, and then we saw that the humidity, what the humidity and
Yep.
what that Florida weather does.
Ooh-wee.
We're we're getting rained on.
Yeah.
We're everybody becomes a professional,
Yeah.
weatherman in the
Weatherman.
field.
Yep. Yep.
But so yeah, so then I go get the promotion there out of spring training, and I stay there after spring training in that league, and at this point, man, I finished the year a buck 75.
Hmm.
Probably had about the same year statistically wise, except minus it being in Florida.
Yeah.
Probably had more consistent hard contact that year,
Yeah.
and but it just didn't have anything to show for it being there.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this
How'd
is
that feel?
2019. Oh, it was brutal. That at
Yeah.
that point, I remember, I'll never forget this. We're in Bradenton, man, and
That place.
that place sucks, man. We're in Bradenton, and you had Bills, yeah, you had Bills.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did.
Uh-huh. And we're in Bradenton, and we're last game of the series, and I'm like, dude, I think I'm at like a buck 70 or something. I'm like, man, like what? I go 4 for 4. I'm up like to a buck 71, and I was
Yeah.
never like I was never big on the stats, because at this point, man, it was like I'd been there, done that.
Yeah.
Right, coming out of high school, man, like my lowest average in high school was like 500. So like coming into pro ball, I haven't seen my body weight yet,
Yeah.
right?
Facts.
Like I've been right.
Right.
Now that we're out of the Florida State League, I haven't seen my body weight yet.
Hmm.
But yeah, man. So we're in Bradenton, and I just remember, man, like I'm like, dude, it was about to rain. I was like, just bang this game. Let's just get on a
Yeah.
flight and go home, man.
Yeah.
And we played that game out, and I think I made it out with a couple hits, but I just remember the feeling that I had that game.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I don't want to play this game. Like you know it is. It's a long season. Everybody has
Yeah.
to get themselves up,
Game
and
140 or something. You're just like, I just need to get up out of here.
but yeah, I will never forget that feeling that I had going into that Bradenton game, and we played it and whatever, and but I just remember that. And then going into it that off season, it's like, oh, like there's a big like, hey Nick. At this point, I'm like, yo, like what's where am I at? Like
Yeah.
I don't know how much the organization, trusted me anymore. I've given
Yeah.
them nothing for them to trust in me for. I've given myself, statistically what I'm seeing, I'm not seeing any difference. But
Yeah.
behind everything though, it's like it was a better year. I'd
Hmm.
gotten better. I'd gotten better. It didn't show, but I know that
Yeah.
I'd gotten better. I'd taken notes. I'm taking notes. Hey, this guy, seeing different dudes. I'm seeing better stuff, right? I'm seeing a whole nother, plethora of guys that I'm seeing. I'm seeing guys with two seams and guys with cutters, and
Yeah.
I'm seeing better pitching. So now I'm adding to that kind of repertoire as far as, hey, like, okay, you got to kind of dish it back and remember
Hmm.
different approach stuff, right? Because the swing, we all know the swing wasn't there, right?
Hmm.
And yeah, man. So I go into it, and Cardinals called me back, and I went in and did a little hitting thing with them, a little hitting camp, and that's kind of
Yeah.
when I started to make those mechanical changes that
Okay.
that helped me be more consistent. Um, but yeah, man,
Yeah.
and we ended up going to, because I mean, you had played with me. When I made contact, it was great,
Yeah.
but when I was
Sure.
playing it, when I was playing at a 30% K rate, like that
Yeah.
wasn't
You
that
you
doesn't
had
play
some
for
of the best like when you made contact, it did sound different off your bat. I 100% agree. Like
yeah.
it sound as a I mean, how old were you when we played together in 2017? Were you 20 then? Or yeah,
Yeah, yes, I was
yeah,
20. Turned 20 that summer. Yep.
yeah. So I mean,
Yep.
20-year-old, you're just like okay. For me, because I like playing like high level like college ball. When you've gotten to the point, I've gotten to the point now when you see somebody that's like that, you're like okay, like they got it. They just got to figure it out. And you had that.
Yeah.
It's like when you made the contact, it was like okay, like he is there. So and then for you. Just fast forward a little bit. You went through you now like 2019, like just another year, like just
Hmm.
tough. And we don't have to go through like the COVID year, but I know you how like we can. But let's hit on a little bit like with COVID year. That 2020, right?
Yep.
Season gets banged. Like you don't even play in the season.
Season gets banged, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
no, season gets banged. So I go and I, make the physical adjustments that I felt like I needed to make
yeah,
to put myself in a better position to succeed that 2020 year.
yep,
I'm there for a week, and then it's like, all right, boys, like we're out of here. March
yep,
Madness is canceled. You guys are
yep.
gone.
When they
And
canceled March Madness, I was like, oh, this is real.
done.
Yeah,
Done, man. Everybody's like, hey, we're playing Miami. And everybody's like, nope, no, we're not. We're
yeah.
not playing Miami, dude. They just banged the Duke game. We're done.
It's back. It's a wrap.
And yeah, no. And then, so I get back home, and yeah, dude, that 2020 year was probably one of, I mean, I would have gone out, and I think I would have gone out and had a really good year because I really didn't change much that year. But that
Yeah,
2020 year, that COVID year was like, I mean, every day. And I had done it up until this point, but the intensity that I was just working at a different intensity, and I've always been,
yeah,
you've been around me enough. I had always worked at, and I've always worked at a high intensity, but
for
there
sure.
was like it was different, and it was different because obviously there wasn't no season, but I almost treated it like my season. That was my season, honestly. That was a lot of
Yeah,
guys' season, and I used it for myself. What are you gonna do? Like in the minor leagues at that time, I didn't get put in the whatever it was, the alternate site. I didn't get invited
mhm.
to do the alternate site, and I wasn't expecting to get invited to the
Right.
alternate site because
I get
But
it.
yeah, I just went deep that year. I just went deep in myself,
Yeah.
and continued to go into work, and adversities came with it.
Yep.
For just like for for everybody that year, the world got flipped on its head. So
Yeah.
know,
sure.
went through a lot of adversity, got deeper in my faith, and got deeper in myself, and got to all you had time was to do was to think. And
Yeah,
then for me, it's like, all right, dude, like hopefully, like they hang with me for another year, and at this point, I'm losing another year, so that it's just crazy. Even thinking about it
yeah,
now, like I get drafted at 18 years old. Now it's like I grew up in pro ball. Like I grew
yeah.
up in the
Absolutely.
Cardinals organization. Man, I'm about to be 24 years old.
Yep,
And see what they're gonna do with me. And
yep.
it's just crazy. And it is just like explaining, like and talking and reminiscing with you about that. It happens that fast, man. But
Sure.
yeah, man. So I go get back, and I had a really good, kept continuing all the mechanical stuff and everything else. And we had a really good group that 2020 year. As far as like I was seeing live at bats, obviously not
Good.
getting nearly as many as a season, but yeah, I show up to spring
Being
training 2021, and I'm ready to go.
good, good.
And
And going into and I looked at the numbers. 2021 was your breakout year, right? Was that
mhm.
yeah? You put up some really good numbers that year. Walk me like let's hit on that just for a split second. What how like were you expecting? I know you were expecting, but like how did that feel to finally see the fruits of your labor after everything you had been through?
Yeah, I think spring training that year, and then the beginning part of that season was that was like kind of like my little like reassurance that this was it.
Yeah,
And and then but that 2020 year I was testing and like constantly like not switching things up, but like okay, let me take this approach on this
yeah,
guy and this approach, right? Because I'd worked with Jeff Alberts and the
hmm,
Cardinals hitting core on stuff that because they saw the numbers. I take my walks. It's just
yeah,
the swing and miss rate's too high, and when the ball's put in play, it's really good.
yeah,
So I took everything that we kind of did, made it my own, and that whole year was just trial and error, trial and error,
yeah,
trial and error, until I came into myself. And then that last kind of final stage was okay, getting back to everything I'd learned those 4 or 5 years before and building an approach behind that swing. And that was there. That kind of going to spring training in that first month of the season, I started off hot. Got at that point 24 and playing at league average in Double A at
hmm,
24, 23 years old, right? And yeah, just get off to a really good, solid start, and kind of carry that throughout the whole year. And
good,
got to do some cool stuff that year. That year was fun, man. Just coming off of that year of anxiousness of 2020, and just
yeah,
working and seeing where I was going to be at. And really, it was a make or break. It was a sink or
yeah,
swim year for me.
absolutely,
And being last year on contract too,
yeah.
because
That's a lot.
I had done my time, dude. I did my
Yeah,
my 6 7 years, and it's I mean it was crazy, man. I just
yeah,
thinking on it now, and I finished out that year in Memphis. I got promoted, got my first in season promotion,
hmm,
and to think as a first round pick, and to think that I'd get my first in season promotion before, because I've seen guys come up and down, and
yep.
but to
You've seen it
never
all.
really, yeah, to never really earn that, and so that was really cool for me. And
Nice.
so yeah, I finished that year at I think 280. I think that year I broke the Springfield, yeah, Tommy, I broke Tommy's record over there for consecutive on base
Of course.
streak. Yeah, so that was Tommy, man.
What a
That
guy.
guy.
Yeah,
Oh man, I knew he was different. I mean, right
we
off the
all did.
rip. When I
We
saw him
all did.
flip sides of the plate, dude, and he just goes smack off the wall, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. And then he goes and makes a backhand drive, but yeah, man. So I did got to had a really solid year that year. Finished in Memphis, and then later the year, I'm packing my bags, getting ready to go, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna send you and a couple other players to go basically be on the alternate players for the wild card game."
Okay.
And that was at that year. It was Dodgers. That's when we played the Dodgers in that wild card game. So
Is that when you
I
made your
got
debut
to.
or no?
No, no,
Okay.
that was my so yeah, so that was at the end of that 2021 year, and just flew out to LA with the team, and if somebody, had gotten COVID, basically
Right.
that's where you could be activated. But it was just cool nonetheless, just to kind of get that experience. We were in the dugout and everything, and to be around that playoff atmosphere.
Yep.
And yeah, man, that was it, man. Went into the off season, got we ended up losing St. Louis. We ended up losing on that. So
Hmm.
then went back and then had this had this solid season under my belt, and
Yep.
a revitalized approach, and kind of had a new outlook on myself as a player, and just kind of got to do it. And then I'm a free agent,
Hmm. And you signed with the Mets,
so
right?
signed with the Mets. Yep.
Okay.
So I went, and my agent did a really good job with that whole free agency, and ended up, that year signing the big league deal out of camp, a 40-man deal.
Nice.
Which it's really doesn't happen very much to
Right.
not have big league experience and to get signed as a free agent on a big league deal. So
Nice.
yeah, man, just kind of leveraged it, and made the most of it. Went to big league spring training, and I mean, it's kind of the same thing, same
Yep.
game, just different atmosphere, and you're around guys who have done it, for forever. It seems like some of these guys, man, but yeah, just went, and that kind of had its own challenges, right? Different challenges.
Yep.
I was on that year. They were I don't know if they're still doing it, but the taxi squad. So I didn't really start playing until probably 2-3 weeks into the season, because I was on the taxi squad with the big leagues for like
Yeah.
2 or 3 weeks. So,
Yeah. That's
but
crazy. That's crazy, man. So
hmm
let's you with the Mets now. You finally you got this good season on your belt. Let's
yeah,
fast forward to you getting the call up. Walk me through that day, and how your lifelong dream finally came true.
yeah. So yeah, cool enough. So I got called up I think I got called up to be on the taxi squad again.
Mhm.
And at this point, I was on the taxi squad 3 or 4 different times for like probably 4 weeks of 2 months of my season. So I've
Yeah.
missed like a month of playing. Whether and obviously it's great to be there, but you're not getting compensated to be on the taxi squad in the
Hmm.
big leagues, right? And you're not playing, so it's like it's kind of, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's hard, especially for my case. Here I just came off of a good year, built some stuff, and it's like,
Yeah.
man, like, you just want to play, and you want to earn that spot. And ended up, I got the call like, hey Nick, we're gonna need you on the taxi squad again,
Hmm.
and come over, and yeah, they told me, hey, you're activated today. We had some guys come up that aren't going to be able to make it, and I got to make my debut on Jackie Robinson Day that year, which was
Wow, that's crazy.
very, very cool, man. I remember walking in, and I had my locker there, because I had, you still, as on the taxi squad, you still have your own locker, and
Yeah.
just to see the number, I got to keep that jersey too. So I
Good.
gotta get it framed. But
For sure.
yeah, man, that was surreal. So I played defense that day,
Hmm.
and then didn't get any at bats. I went in the ninth. So my manager that year with the Mets was Buck, and Buck was awesome with that. So we
Hmm.
had, he got me in there in the ninth, so I could make my debut that day. And
Yeah.
then the next day, same thing, got in, and got an at bat, got an at bat up there, and then played the field and lined out to center. And then the guys who had previously tested for COVID, they came back, and then I get optioned down, and then
Hmm.
it's like back to playing, which I was fine with. I got to make my debut at school and
Right.
all that. But yeah, and then get back to playing ball, and then yeah, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, our fourth outfielder went down, and had broken his wrist, and then I get the call, and it was after getting one at bat up there and kind of getting my feet wet a little bit. I think I made my first start on Sunday Night Baseball against the Phillies, who
Nice.
I think, that year they went to the World Series. And
Yep.
it was It was sweet. First ball hit to me, I go and I make a sliding try, and I overslid because
Of
you're
course.
dealing with the different levels, and
Yeah.
you're dealing with, I mean, visually it's a lot different as in the outfield, as you know, and so that's my first taste in the big league.
Mm,
So playing defense, so I get that little uppercut, and it was cool. So I ended up got to get my first hit was, I think they ended up scoring a run, not because of that right off the rip, but
yeah,
obviously can't give away outs in the big leagues.
for sure.
But yeah, man. So
Crazy.
ninth
Yeah.
inning comes up and get my first hit, which was a homer to right in the,
Yep.
what
I
was
remember
it,
watching
bottom of
that.
the
I was
ninth,
watching that game. I'm like,
bottom of the ninth. Yeah, man. It was cool, man. And I'll tell you this, and it'll be, kind of going along with your whole concept, man. I'll never forget. I think we were in the eighth or ninth, and I was out playing defense, and I was like, I just kind of said a quick prayer, and I was like,
mm,
Lord, just be with me, and I know
yep,
you're with me, and kind of settled in because at that point you're playing in New York, you're playing in Queens, and it's an
yep.
environment that
Like
you can
crazy.
only imagine, and your imagination isn't going to do it, and yeah, man, I just remember real peace, and I remember, making that slip up early in the game. I just had, kind of tying back just that
Yeah,
whole my whole career and getting back to that point. You build that mental endurance and that mental toughness, and I knew that I was going to get a good pitch sooner or later, and to do damage with it, and it was awesome that I was able to come through for the team and be able to help us ultimately win that day. And
for
it
sure.
was cool, man. Yeah, man.
Great, man.
So,
I remember watching. I'm like, and I was just proud because I had known some of the stuff that you had went through. So it's just like, and
hmm
you were always such a good dude that whenever that happened for you, I was just like genuinely happy for you, honestly. And we'll make this the last thing. For
yeah,
you, that faith part. How much was that a part of your life, and how much did you lean on that during the good days, but more so like those dog days?
yeah. It's everything, dude. I mean, it's when you have that constant, because there's nights when you come back and you go 0 for 4 with a golden sombrero, and you're like, where do I go?
Yeah,
You're 4 years into it, and it's where do I go? And for you to be able to turn to your faith and to be able to turn to God and just to kind of, I think, when I was thinking, when you had, reached out and said, hey, I want to get together and talk about it. I think something that really stands out to me with my faith life and kind of tying it into my career was just the peace that my faith and my connection, to faith kind of gives me. It gives me that it's awesome just to be able to, when you have times, I mean, especially nowadays, it seems like there's so much different anxieties and there's
yep,
so much different stresses. I mean, you're going through new stresses being a new dad.
yep,
I'm going through new stresses with this new stage of life that I'm in, and
yep.
there's so many questions, there's so many different outlets, good and bad. It's like, but at the end of the day, it's like when you have that constant, that peace that you're able to turn to, and you're able to close your eyes or take a deep breath and kind of recall after me, and kind of turn into. And
Yep.
I think it's really that's something that I've always, you know growing up, my mom will tell you, like, I was always like a different kind of motor pattern kid. Like, I
Mm,
always kind of worked different. I was always quiet, and I'd always kind of, do things a certain way and kind of not like be like a loner, but I was always like kind of like really in tune with, like just, the little intricacies of things, right?
yep.
And I think it goes back to that, man, just to be able to kind of leave control and kind of lose control and be like, hey, whatever happens is going to happen, and as long as I'm in a good state of mind, and I know that everything's going to be cool and everything's going to work out. And you kind of, it's when you pair that with good work ethic and putting yourself around good people, and
Absolutely.
ultimately, yeah, ultimately just bettering yourself and being like, hey, you're not going to be perfect. That's
Right.
the greatest things about that's the greatest thing about, Christianity, Catholicism, is that, he's already, forgiven all of our sins, and you can't be perfect, and but
Right.
I think looking back in my career, that kind of that the peace that it gives me, and the reassurance that it gives me that no matter you're 0 for 4 or 4 for 4 with a home run cycle, you're loved, man. And I think
Right.
that's there's nothing better, man. And it's free, and it's
And
right
it's
there, and
free.
it's able to be accessed 24/7, 365, and it's able to spread like wildfire. And I think that's really important for everybody to be able to have that.
I agree, man. I agree. I agree. No, it's faith is everything, man. And we never know what we go through to get to where we need to go, and at the end of the day, to glorify God's name. So I appreciate you, being vulnerable and telling me, telling us about everything you went through. But no, man, I appreciate you just being on the podcast with me, man. And, walking through everything with us and just telling us, some of the things that you went through as a ball player. And a lot of people, strive to get to where you got to. So I appreciate you, telling us about that, and keep being yourself, man. You were always one of the good dudes that I play with. Humble, but work your tail off, man. So whatever,
Likewise, man. Yeah.
yeah, whatever God has for you in this next step, just do it to the best of your ability, and He's got you going from there, man.
Absolutely, man. No, it was I'm gonna send you when I get off with you. I'm gonna send you a picture I got of you and me in the clubhouse in
Oh, please,
2017,
dude.
dude. And you can
Oh,
make it. I'm giving you permission to make it the poster
I got, yeah, please do. I
for
need,
it, because I mean, it sums it up, dude. It sums up the growth that we both have, like, just in our lives thus far, right? It's just,
definitely.
it was before, I think it was like before a day game or something. I was like sprawled out. It was pretty funny, but yeah, man,
Please,
it
man.
was a pleasure. It was a pleasure, getting on with you. And honestly, man, I need to, you inspire me to want to do more and to be more outspoken about my faith, about my journey. And
Hey,
yeah, man,
that's what we're here for, man. Like
absolutely, man.
like you never know who might not necessarily crack that book open, the Bible open to get it. So be that light, so people can see God through you.
Yeah.
But love you, big dog. Keep doing your thing, man.
Love you
Uh,
too, Vince. Absolutely,
yeah,
man.
yeah, for sure, man. Well, this concludes the episode. Please like, subscribe, share it to a friend. I appreciate y'all joining us, and y'all have a great day.